What have you already given up or are about to give up? Because you think that by now you're getting too old to do that. Because you have this feeling inside that you couldn't go for what you want any longer because, you're not in your 20s anymore. You're in like your late 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s. And now you're thinking or wondering if your ship has sailed by now. If you have any doubts of your ability to make things happen, go for the dream, go for your desire. Because you feel you can't do this anymore because you're getting up there in years, this show today is for you. Is there anything that you are about to give up or have already given up because you thought, okay, at your age, the ship has sailed? Have you given up the hope of starting a family, of finding love again, of having a rocking, super hot body, of having the energy that you once had when you were 5 years old and you could, a toddler, that kind of energy? Have you given up on your dream of traveling around the world for a year, having a second home in a beautiful location that really speaks to your heart? Or maybe you've given up the dream of writing a book, learning another language. Whatever it is, if it is any way, shape, or form related to the thought that you can't do this anymore because you are getting too old, and old dogs don't learn new tricks and such, I'm here to tell you that this is absolutely not true. And I want to present you with 3 steps to take to make this more to you relatable, what it really means to get older and how often we stand in our own ways and our own beliefs are the biggest stumbling blocks for us on our way to creating the life that we love. And this is the whole channel idea. It is never too late to live the life you love. Let's start with the facts. That in our society, there is no way around it. There is ageism. You may have experienced it already. I certainly have. I had my first child at the age of 44. You will not believe the things that you hear once you are of this advanced maternal age, which is 35 and up, and the disrespectful tone and words that are used for a woman over 40 who is pregnant. Like, I was a geriatric mom to be. I had a geriatric pregnancy. When I first heard this, I'm like, I had my midwife and my doctor, I gave them an earful. I said, listen, I am paying your salary. You better treat me with respect. So I know it's crazy. So have you maybe already also had an experience when a coworker or a friend or a doctor treated you differently only because your your birthday marked all of a sudden a milestone birthday, and in between 39 and 40 or 49 and 50, hey, I turned 50, and my doctor all of a sudden says I have to have a colonoscopy. 2 months before that, all good, but at 50, so we all have experience, most likely you too. There is some milestone birthdays that are really associated with going down the hill, and for us women, it's usually sooner than for men. And then it also depends on where you live. Like if you live and work in Silicon Valley, you're old at 30. 35 is like, or you want to have a baby in your 40s. You're a geriatric mother to be, which is still so ridiculous to me. Or if you work in corporate America and you're like 45, 50, especially as a woman, you may start to feel how people may treat you a little bit differently. And you may be afraid of losing your job also. Look, ageism is real. A recent Forbes article wrote that 1.2 million workers, men and women, that were 55 years of age and up have lost their jobs, and they are most likely not going to return into the regular workforce anymore because either the jobs are gone, the companies, or don't have those jobs anymore, or gave them to somebody younger because they can pay less money to the younger person. So there is, unfortunately, a pretty intense ageism, wave of ageism that comes to us women at this age of 40 and 50, 40s and 50s. You know, this is what we are talking about in this channel primarily. So if you're a woman in your 40s and 50s, please hit subscribe and click the bell as well so you get notifications. The biggest issue is that we as women, we often internalize this. And here's the truth that I found and have validated for years now. True ageism, my dear, true ageism is an inside job. Let me repeat this, please. True ageism does not come from the outside. The hardest voices, the harshest voices, they are inside of us. The biggest doubts, they are inside of us. The biggest questions that we have are actually inside of us. And that is, as weirdly as it sounds, the good news. Because only because we have internalized the, you know, the feedback and the narrative from the outside and made it our own, that doesn't mean we can't change it. And here are 3 steps to do exactly that. 3 steps that I myself have practiced. I have to laugh, but I'm telling you, I went through a whole drama in my head, not just for a few days, but a few weeks, if not months, about launching this YouTube channel now. Like, I am so in the thick of things, of my own person that brings ageism to the forefront into my mind almost daily. So I really know what I'm talking about. And I'm following those steps as well. Number 1, realize that age is not just a number. I know people like to say that and they say, oh yeah, age is just a number, but it is not. Age is a number that we have, number 1, attached a story to. You and I, we all attach a story to a number. This is the way we grew up in. This is the way up with. This is the way we have been taught to think about. You know, what does 30 mean? 40 mean? For women, when is everything downhill for us? We have attached a story that we need to become aware of individually to that number. But believe me, it was ridiculous how often I went back and forth. Should I do this YouTube channel? Should I not do this YouTube channel? My story, that was only children like 9, 10, 15-year-olds create YouTube channels, but not a woman at 50 doesn't do that anymore. You know, like all these stories, which is completely untrue. And this is where I'm getting at. We need to be first aware of the story that you believe about that number, your age. Number 2 is we have an emotion attached to the number. We have an emotion attached to our age. And this emotion usually is not one of, hey, jolly, I'm getting older, I'm rocking it, I'm loving it. Usually it is, unfortunately, also often an emotion of maybe disappointment, regret, of sometimes even despair when we think, oh my God, now I really can't do this anymore. You know, for example, when it comes to motherhood, it's an emotion that is usually one that brings us down and not uplifting, and we need to be very aware of it. The 3rd step is that we have a consequence then attached to that age, to that number. And the consequence very often is that either we don't even try, we don't feel well, we're not going for it, okay? We abandon the project, the idea, the dream altogether, or we do it half ASSED, I think it's the right expression here, and don't give it our all. I often see this when I'm working with women. They would like to go back to work after being home for 15, 20 years. They send out their resumes, they take all the necessary steps at the beginning, and then they are invited to the interview, but all of a sudden there's this hesitation. The excuse, no, I can't go on the day because I cannot miss my son's baseball game or my daughter's music recital, or some excuse that we take ourselves out of the game before the game has even started. Why? Because we doubt that we can do it and abandon ourselves prematurely before, the game has even begun. So today, please take a journal, take 15 minutes, write down what you believe about your current age, your age in what, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. See how it feels in your body. Just become aware of it. That's all we need right now. That's all we need right now. Become aware of it. See how it feels in your body. And what would happen? What would the consequence be if you continue believing that story that you have? What would the consequence be? And I'm telling you, I know if I wouldn't be here talking to you right now out of my bedroom, it's the first video that I'm doing for this series, I'd be miserable at some point, maybe not today, not tomorrow, but in 5 years from now, when somebody else does the channel, I would look back thinking, oh my God, I should have done that. And I would have regrets for the rest of my life. So please, you also need to be honest. You need to look at the consequences. If you don't do it today, or at least take the first steps towards wherever you want to go, what are the consequences? This is what we do today, to become aware. And then once you have it all laid out, I want you to see that your story is often not a fact. So yes, it's factual that there is ageism out there. Yeah, it is. But is it a fact that you can't do what you're setting out to do or what you're wishing to do because of your age? No, it's not. It's just a belief. So be also very mindful that this is a belief. And that's a really, really good news, because you can change the beliefs. We have to have the status quo first, be very clear on it, and then take the next steps to really see where we want to go. And I want to tell you why I think that because you're older now, even the dream that you had 20 years ago, 25 years ago, for me, it was writing a book, okay? It took 26 years until I had my book in my hands. Good Lord, 26 years, yeah? Don't wait that long. It's not necessary. But I'm telling you, you are now better positioned to make the dream that you may have had already for a couple of decades, to make it a dream that comes actually true, because you're older, because you're smarter, because you're wiser, and because you have life and business experience now. And I just realized, yes, of course, this is the best proof. I could not do it in my early 20s when I set out to write my first book. But then in my 40s, I could. 26 years later. All right, again, don't wait that long. I'm a little slow on the uptake, hence the importance to have this channel, not just for you, but also for me as a reminder. Listen, we are reversing aging by reversing our mindset around it. How awesome is that? If what we're doing here resonates with you, sign up below, hit this little bell that's supposedly so important so that you get notifications when a new video comes. And also, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in the comments below. Let me know, what are you interested in? What are your questions? What is what keeps you up at night? So we can do a video, plan a video for you just on that topic alone. Okay? All right. Until soon.